H's take on the 12 steps. For details on all Paul's events, his story, under arrest, books, t-shirts, videos of previous meetings, events, check out his website, zenbitchlab.com. So today, Paul, I was hoping that you'd be okay to talk about for a while the thief and the policeman.
The Thief and the Policeman?
Yeah, and I've got maybe a reading step 6 to go along with that if you like, or not. It's up to you.
I can't hear you that well, but we can do The Thief and the Policeman.
Okay.
All right, well, we'll start it. Welcome, everybody. First, again, this is not an AA meeting. This is not about changing the design for living. It's just who's going to be under the design for living. Yeah. The premise that we speak from is rooted in a sentence on page 64, right at the beginning of the inventory process of the 4th step. And after they go on and explain like a business that doesn't take inventory may go bankrupt and stuff like that, they lead to this statement, which to me is identifying the exact nature of the wrong, which is self being convinced, which is the requirement. And obviously that they're pretty sure that with the evidence in your life and with some honest telling of the evidence, you'll be convinced self manifested in various ways is what has defeated us. It's a very clear, very distinct statement. Now, did they know they were making it? Who knows? I think the big book's a download. 1 second they say it has nothing to do with you, and the other second paragraph it's you're the root of the problem. So I don't feel they were the source of the information coming through them, to tell you the truth, my opinion. We got some noise going. So being convinced, one of the definitions is to believe with certainty. Self, whatever that may mean, and we'll try to describe it vaguely. I think it's truly rooted in a mental activity called selfing.
Paul, you've been muted. Sorry. If you can unmute.
Muted this whole time?
No, just the last few seconds.
All right, so then this idea of the root of it, of what self means to me, is brought about by a mental activity where they say in the book the problem resides, which is selfing. And selfing, if listened to, brings us to the idea that we're a self, basically, because it talks about us as a long-lasting, independent, separate thing. We just had it today where I was watching a video on YouTube about this island somewhere on the East Coast where these very rich people used to go and have strange meetings, let's say. And so they were going around the island very, very honestly, nonchalantly. And they were going, oh, there's the cabin the Rockefellers built. Yeah. And then there's the cabin the Rothschilds built. But did the Rothschilds really build it? Or did the Rockefellers build it? Or did they pay someone to build it? Yes. But the language sounds like they built the freaking cabin. But the Rockefellers did not build. I do not believe they built the cabin. They paid for the cabin to be built. Yeah. So this kind of language, the way the English language is, there's noise going on. The way their language is used, it tends to imply we have a lot to do with a lot of stuff we don't have anything to do with. Like in Italian, my girlfriend is from Italy. They don't have as much of this ownership as we do. They don't, it says, I'm going to eat some of my food. It's just, I'm going to eat food. Yeah. It's not my food. It's food. Yeah. So this idea of selfing, which is an activity of the head, it plays all day. When you wake up, it's on automatic. K-Paul just comes on. You don't even dial in. It's like an automatic. It's your aperture is set on K-Paul or K-Mike or K-Mark or K-Wilma or Susan. And then immediately you start hearing life based on a self-centered view. That's what you hear. And so we have an imagination. If you hear something enough, you're going to start picturing it. And there's a picture right here we see every day in reflections and mirrors is this body. Yeah. So now the subjective experience of seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, living, doing, not doing is now attributed to the body. Yeah. So, and we're remembered as self by the remembering of the body. So that's what happens. So here's the selfing. So being convinced self manifested in various ways. So the selfing can't defeat us. What defeats us if we take ourselves to be self. Yeah. If that's the defeat point. The selfing may be annoying, may fucking disturb you somewhat, may cause you to watch Die Hard 5 because you don't want to listen to it. But it's not gonna ruin your freaking fucking life. You're not gonna have a 20-year sentence because you're not gonna listen to it as if it's a news station. Yeah, you're gonna see it as a propaganda station, really. So false evidence will start appearing, which it always is, as false to you. Yeah, false evidence appears real to us. We play the role of it appearing real or not. False evidence is false evidence. When something looks at it, it can appear real or not to it. And if you're based on self, false evidence is going to appear real mostly because that you're the appearance of false evidence already. So basically, you're totally primed and ready to believe almost any fucking thing it says because you're believing something already. Yeah. So being convinced self, what? Manifested in various ways. We're going to come to that a paragraph later. Is what has defeated us. So are you convinced of that? No? Or are you going to wait for your head to be convinced of that, which is not going to work? Is there an innermost self that's not self? Is there an unsuspected inner resource where you can be convinced about self? Because self is not going to be convinced about self. There is, yeah. People have had it with a sudden experience of getting struck sober or over time experience of getting and staying sober. But there is a distinct activity going on that is not of self, right where we are at all times, no matter where we are or what we're doing. There's a spirit or something, let's say. Some people call it God, whatever. But there it is, okay? So being convinced self manifested in various ways, and this is now important, has defeated us, yeah? Now, I think it's a very clear delineation between self and us. Self is not us, yeah? And us is not self. Self has defeated us, yeah? I don't see how you can think self is you. When self-hatred happens, you're not the one that's hating you. The head is hating you. The head is hating its own idea of you. I don't think you hate yourself. I don't. I really don't. It just goes against all fucking basic programming of survival and shit like that. Yeah. You would probably not survive well if you hated yourself in the savannah. You probably would have just called over the lions and rolled over. And then you would have been extinct very quickly if you were living in a continual state of hating yourself. It just doesn't, something hates us, that's for sure. But I don't think it's us. That's the whole premise of the message. So, all right, being convinced self manifests in various ways is what has defeated us. I hope you're convinced of that. Yes. If you are, we are now going to look at selves, not ours, self's common manifestations. And then there's not much time or space that moves. There's just a little bit of white, and then the next paragraph starts and it says resentment is the number one offender. So with the old sentence we just read lingering still, I hope you see resentment is a manifestation of self, because that's how I read that description. How I read it is something has defeated us through its manifestations in our life. And we're now going to look at its manifestations in our life. And the next paragraph is resentment. That's not mine. Resentment is not my resentment. Fear is not my fear. I'm not the producer of it. I'm not the cause of it. I'm not the origin of it. Self is. And self ain't us. Yeah. So I feel this is just a it's so fundamental that you're walking 800,000 miles is not going to change the direction this sets. If we're identified as what has defeated us, we're probably going to be continually defeated by it. Yeah. Even in the efforting and the trying to apply the solution, the problem will still be a huge fucking influence, because we will be taking ourselves to be that which has defeated us. Yeah. So what happens? What happens if you have a new attitude and outlook, yet what has the new attitude and outlook is the old you, the old self? How far is that going to go? How far is your new freedom and happiness going to change that which is the same old? Yeah. I truly believe the new freedom and happiness and the new attitude and outlook is based on losing interest in self. And how you lose interest in self is not as self. You lose interest in self as seeing it as something other than you. That's all. Yeah. There you have it. That's the primary platform of these talks. Yeah. You give that which is this same old, a new attitude and outlook, it's going to look like the old attitude and outlook shortly. The new freedom and happiness is going to start looking like the old freedom and happiness, because the biggest influence of that equation hasn't been addressed, which is the primary number one in this mathematics, and that's self. And you're not that. That's the whole message. Yeah. So we look at self's manifestations to see how self has defeated us. The only place we appear is at the end of self has defeated us. That's where we appear. We're not looking at our shit. We're looking at self's manifestations. Yeah. That we have been calling our shit. And trying to avoid it as our shit hasn't worked. So now we own it as our shit. We make amends. We do what we do. And then I hopefully you recognize that mixed into all of your shit is a whole lot of self shit. Yes. So you start sending the bills to that who deserves the bills. This idea of guilt and shame after 40 years of sobriety about what happened when you were using is insane to me. Completely insane. You were not the doer. It says it in the book tons of different ways. We were driven. A self-imposed thing happened. Yes. We made decisions based on self. Yes. It's in the book completely. There's something in us that's not us, that lives as us. Through this activity of convincing us we're self. And it's at a point where it's succeeded and it just piles on, you know. It's just having a field day, riffing. Yeah. You could call it the exact diagnosis of what that statement of playing God is. You wake up in the morning and something tells you how the day's going to be. That's fucking playing God. You think you know everything before you even meet it? That's playing God. Contempt prior to investigation is playing God. Yeah. You're not that which is playing God. This is the invitation. I'm not into any arguing or anything. It's just an invitation. Check it out. If I don't check it out. I don't care. But you have the right to hear it because I heard it. Yeah. So I'm passing it on. And this worked. And it continues to work. It allows the hopeful experience of the problem not existing for you to stabilize as a fundamental fact that the problem does not exist as you anymore. And that leads to a lot more days of the problem not existing for you. I'll tell you, man, it leads to a whole lot more days of that experience with that new basis that the problem does not exist as me. Yeah. If not, you're going to be wedded to 40 years ago. Yeah. The head has no statute of limitations. You're never going to be fucking let go of those things you thought you did 50 years ago or 20 years ago or 5 months ago if you're a newcomer. Yeah. There's not going to be a statute of limitations. It's just going to play that tune over and over again. Every time you're starting to feel better and coming out of something, it will tell you how less you deserve that. Yes. It makes your own existence a meritocracy, a proving ground where you have to dance to a tune that the fucking thing that's playing God sets. And it changes it all the time. It tells you do this and do this and do that, then you'll be happy. You do all that shit and you're not happy. And then all I can say is do more. It's slavery, complete slavery. It doesn't need any change. This is like a prison that travels with you. There's no need for a lock because you close the door on yourself. Yeah. It's difficult to see the act of being identified as self. You can't see it from self. Yeah. Because that's the act of being identified as self. But you can see it from spirit, from what we are. Yeah. And maybe you need just a little push or a little invitation, which is what we're doing here. And to me, the importance of it is so fucking paramount that I'm willing to come here for 2 weeks, for twice a week for 35 years. Yeah. I'm sure I'm going to be moved to come back tomorrow and the next day. We got over the active, chaotic condition, active drinking and using. Let's get free from the underlying condition, which is the act of being identified as self. How far has self-improvement gone, really? You know, I can improve a Toyota as much as I can. I'm not going to turn it into a Rolls Royce. It's a Toyota. I can improve and improve and improve. It's got a limitation. It has a ceiling. It can only go so far. Yeah. You know, all the muscles you make and all the workouts, gravity wins at the end. Those muscles are going to weaken and droop all over you. Yeah. Do you ever see the irony of stuff? There was an irony once. There was a magazine about all these experts in certain fields and how they died. So this guy who was an expert in fruitarianism got killed by a coconut falling out of a tree. The other person who wrote books about how to die lovely went out kicking and screaming. Other person was some other thing, and they got bit by their own expert topic. It was so correct. It's so incredibly beautiful message, really. I'm a professor of holes, and I'm talking to you from a hole. I don't want to know about holes. I want to know enough about holes to avoid them. That's I'm not interested in holes. So self-knowledge avails us nothing, but knowledge of self is valuable. And one knowledge I'd love to pass on to you about self is you're not it. I'd love that to sort of get a beachhead. Yeah. Maybe you'll take yourself less seriously. Yeah, that's rules. The only way Rule 62 can apply to you is if you see self as not you. Yeah, you're trying to take self not seriously is seriously taking self. It doesn't work. It's all based on loss of interest, not in increased interest, loss of interest. And what? Self. Then you're going to gain interest in others and want to contribute to life and instead of taking from life. Everything switches around. That's the new attitude and outlook. It's not trying to fit the old self with a new pair of glasses. It's just going to see the same old fucking way through them. Yeah. Yeah. So that's, I try to emphatically point it out because it's so easy to kind of combine this. Oh, this is exactly the same. I'm going to work and get out. No, it isn't. I'm trying to impress upon you that there's an act of being identified as self that's already stated in the head, and it's historically believed in the head. You are not in the act of becoming self. In the head, you already are one. You already are one. Yeah. And when you're looking from self, the only thing you're trying to look for is how to get out of self. Drinking, drugs, sobriety, working out, whatever it is. Yeah. There's no recognition that maybe we should look and see if we are in self. If we're not in self, wouldn't trying to get out of it reinforce the belief we were in it? If the mistake is that we're in self, it would question the efficiency of constantly trying to get out of self. Yeah. Maybe if you saw you were not in self, you would lose interest in getting out of self. Yeah. And that's truly being out of self. Yeah. I don't see, to me, it's for people, it confuses their head. To me, my head has been, I have a stream in there that's actually different than the mental logic I've lived by. Yeah. It doesn't follow the same directions. It goes left when the mental logic would say go straight. But I've learned to have faith in that because it has led me very, very well for these years. The mental logic is insane if you see it from outside of yourself. It has you hoping that one day maybe I will be okay. The idea of being okay is completely dismissed. And then you have memories, maybe you were okay when you were a kid, that makes it even worse not to be okay now. Yeah. But the okayness now, oh, forget it. There's way too much stuff I've got to do to become okay. You don't see that as slavery. It has this thing that is your jailer is having you work for freedom. When the freedom is from the jailer has set up your course to work for freedom and is going to judge and critique it all along the way. And that's the sense of the policeman, as Ben was talking about. Yeah. So I just wanted to get this out, then I'm going to give a minute or two to the policeman thief. Okay. So you know narratives. You're listening to one in the head, yes? there's a storyline playing in the head. It has a big interruption when you go to sleep, but it just picks up where it left off the next morning. Yeah. So this narrative that only has about 2/3 of our life to work with, the rest is freedom from it, really sleeping. But in this narrative, an aspect of it, and this is how they come up with names. And the name of it was The Policeman. So when I was young, I was incredibly concerned about how I thought others were thinking of me. Yes? I said it was how others were thinking of me, but it was really how I thought others were thinking of me. So I was already thinking how I thought others were thinking of me. Yeah. And I tried to be perfect. I didn't curse. I got 98% in school, first grade, never said a word in school class, just beautiful kid, you know. This head had me in a rigid sort of straitjacket. And then I remember the day we were walking down up to the cafeteria, and another class was walking down, and I saw the kids that were getting the most attention were the kids that are acting out. And then I started to go, I just lost that sense of policeman. I started to go the thief route. Yeah. I started to fuck around. And then this irritability, restlessness, and discontentment of that identification as self, overriding the unsuspected inner resource called what I am, drove me into this thief modality where I wanted some fucking relief. And I started to drink. And I went before, like with the policeman, if a girl said hello to me at school, I went home and wondered by what she meant by it for 5 hours. Yeah, the policeman would just go over it, fucking everything, ad nauseum. Yes, it was no relief, really. Now, the thief, I didn't give a shit about that girl saying hello to me when I was getting loaded. I didn't. But the unfortunate thing, listening to the thief and starting to drink, I realized I had magnetic appeal to people in uniform. So the thief life, which was actually had a great value because it was free from the policeman life, brought about a lot of consequences. But I felt that I was willing to pay any consequence tomorrow not to feel the policeman today. Yeah. I just did not want that guy fucking walking the beat in my head. I was not going to be perfect. I was always going to fail, and I couldn't take it. So thief away, fucking go through thiefdom. Of course, it led to something. I get struck sober. Now, get struck sober, get introduced to the way of life. Who shows up again? The policeman. Now I've got to go over anything I think about and see what was the intention behind it. It was just insane. Like my whole life was going to change if I went left on Haight Street instead of right on Street. It was just complete obsession with self, unbearable. And I didn't trust a thief as far as I could throw it. So I had, I got to go with the policeman. So I was on a policeman's. My first 4 years of sobriety was like a probation. The policeman was just walking a tight beat constantly with its own ideas of a lot of shit. And that was not a new attitude and outlook. I was very familiar with this attitude and outlook of policemen. So what happened with it, okay, I started to get relief. And I was starting to experience that being placed in a position of neutrality, which was the neutrality between the policeman narrative and the thief narrative. I did not know there was another option. I thought there was either thief or policeman. Either I'm getting high and having a lot of fun, or I'm fucking sober and not. Yeah. I was placed in a position of neutrality, and I could see, let's say, the third way. Like I was playing let's make a deal with only thinking there was two doors. Yeah. Thief, policeman, thief, policeman. Suddenly there's a new door. I can be placed in a position of neutrality. Yes. Because the thief was an apparition of self, and the policeman is also an apparition of self. They're of the same cloth, and I don't want to be run by either of them. Yeah. So now something else is directing me, and now I hear those narratives, but not from the narrative. Yeah. I hear the narrative of life from the thief. I hear the narrative of life from the policeman, but I don't live the narrative of the thief nor the policeman. Yes, yes, yes. And now they have produced a lot of comedy, seriously, when it was all fucking serious. Some of the shit that happened in the thief realm was fucking incredibly funny. And the same with the police. I mean, I could not believe how far a stick can go up the ass, yeah, with the policeman. This idea of having to be perfect and then entering into spiritual practice was fucking unbelievable. It's got to be St. Paul or nothing. It was insane. It was like such a drag, literally. Yeah. So, yeah, that's the policeman thief idea. And I've riffed on it. It means sort of like that. So basically, when a thief gets unruly, an aspect of the self shows up, which is the policeman. And when the policeman gets too strict, an aspect of self, the thief shows up. You don't want, the thief isn't going to be corrected by the policeman. Yeah. And the policeman isn't going to be corrected by the thief. They're two aspects of the same coin, which I had no idea of until I did. Yeah. So the heads and the tail don't mean anything. They're the same coin. Yes. Yeah. So that's it with the policeman thief. You've listened to a narrative. I'm sure the narrative has changed a lot if you're sober. Yeah. But usually you can tell they either have a quality of thief or policeman or a mix. And I'll tell you one thing, all thief, all policeman sucks. Yeah. It doesn't work well. And I could not see how I could balance the other. Yeah. It's above my pay grade. Good luck if you think you can. I give you my hat's off to you, but I had to admit defeat, and not as the thief or the policeman, yeah, but admitting defeat of the policeman and of the thief, yeah. There had to be a new way of looking at things. There just had to be, and there is, yeah. Yeah. I think the way of life in recovery gives you the ample opportunity for that to happen quickly or slowly. But inevitably, it is going to be done by something or other moving us and placing us in a position of neutrality, which to me demonstrates the true posture of recovery, which is surrender. Yeah. If the policeman claims sobriety, it looks like a maximum security prison. It's going to really lock you up. If the thief looks at sobriety, it wants to fuck it up somewhat, yeah, or play around the edges, or just start drinking non-alcohol beer or something like that. Yeah, so maybe shooting up with water, no heroin in it. I missed the ritual. It's no way. You can't pull it off. Better people than us have tried, I'm telling you, I'm sure. Perhaps there is a better way. Trusting the infinite rather than finite self. Yes, that's it. You cannot trust the infinite as finite self. That's trust in finite self. You're clear on that, yes? Finite self, setting off the trust in the infinite, is trust in finite self. Finite self cannot trust the infinite. It's like you can only serve one master at the time. You can't do both. So setting out on the course to lose interest in self as self is interest in self. Yeah. So you maybe just check out, is there an act of being identified as self that you seem to have been living under and sort of as? Well, tell the truth about that, and let's start off with that and see where it takes you. Maybe do a little inventory on its manifestations and stop calling them yours. So not my resentment, resentment, not my fear, fear, not my acting out, acting out. Check it out. See if the same information held in a different way produces a different lightness. I'm sure you'll recognize it. Yeah. Yeah. Wouldn't you like to have that quality of lightness throughout your day? You can check it out very easily. Do a 5-minute inventory on your resentments, your fears, your harms, and then do a 5-minute inventory on resentment, harms, and whatever. Yeah, a resentment cannot live long. It can't. Yeah, my resentment can live for 50 years because I'm giving it life. Yeah, that life could be given to other things. Why would you want to feed resentments your life? Why do you want to fear? Why do you want to feed fear by all the mental anxiety that the head's making? Why do you want to fear? Why do you want to feed those gods of resentment and fear and harm done to others in the pursuit of what you want? Why? Is the benefit and the paybacks that high? I think it's a bad ratio. I think the payoff cost ratio sucks. You get such little payoff and such a cost. Yeah. See fear as actually, let's be clear about one thing. What we're calling fear is mostly mental anxiety, mimicking fear. Yes? Fear is an emotion that comes up when there's an apparent threat. Most of us are being driven by what we call fear, but it's mental anxiety. Yeah. Be clear about that. Usually, I don't know, maybe people who have panic attacks, I do not believe most people who are suffering mental anxiety experience the release of adrenaline in the body that you do when there's real fear. Yeah. When I saw a shark in the water while I was surfing, there was a huge adrenaline drop. Yeah. Huge. I mean, when I got on shore, I was soaked with it. I was just rushing out. Yeah. Most mental anxiety doesn't trigger. Even the body knows it's not fear. Yeah. Even the body knows it's bullshit. It's not triggering adrenaline, is it? No. Just triggering fucking dis-ease and discomfort and mental agitation. It's given it too high a regard, calling it fear. It's mental anxiety. It's mimicking something, but it can't even convince the body to drench yourself with adrenaline. It knows better. The body knows, the body's recognizing the bullshit more than we are. Yeah, has it? I do not. If I'm sitting here worrying obsessively about tomorrow, I am not feeling an adrenaline rush. I'm not. I've felt adrenaline rushes. I've been in fearful situations where I got drenched with adrenaline. This is not it. Yeah. There's nothing fucking going on. We're dreaming mountains out of molehills. Tell the truth. You're a powerful thing, and look at what it's being put to use for, really. To dwell on yesterday and tomorrow when you could become aware of right now. There's so much right now that's worthy of being aware of. And yet spending that awareness on fucking shit from yesterday and tomorrow. Thinking yesterday, tomorrow is going going to make it all right. All these days I felt lacking, that super day I'm going to arrive at someday soon is going to make it all better. No, it ain't. If you're in a condition of withholding now, you'll be withholding then. And I don't think you're withholding. I think you're withheld. I think something has you, and it is not willing to let you go. That to me is the bondage of self. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. There's enough going on now. Why do I want to have yesterday? Yeah, shit. Yeah. And then some of us, a friend of here, Sally and stuff, she's such a great sharer. This idea that we're sitting on the sidelines choosing to participate or not, we're completely participatory at every moment. Like it or not, you're here. You're not sitting on the bank of Never Never World seeing, oh, maybe I'll jump in today. That's in. Wherever you are that you believe is a lofty observational perch is in. You're not out of here. This is completely 100% participatory. Like it or not. Your head can say whatever it fucking wants. It's not changing it. Yeah. You're here completely. And you're not getting out of here until the fucking, the door on the Toyota closes for the last time. If I just don't look, it won't be there. No, it's completely here. Out of sight is not out of mind. When you're in mind, you want everything to be out of sight. That hasn't worked, has it? No. So, hey, there's a solution. Says it right in our book. Do you feel like you're living a solution? Or you feel like you're trying to learn about the solution from the problem? Yeah, tell the truth. When you're living from the solution, it's going to become obvious sooner or later. It really is. Yeah. Because you're going to lose interest in a lot of stuff. Yeah. You won't have to try to lose interest. You won't have to make vows or promises. You're just going to lose interest. Yeah. And that interest is probably going to start enriching your day. Yeah. Instead of enslaving it. Because the interest and attention, taking the mental marching orders, just goes overseas all day. To yesterday and tomorrow. Yeah. It's just fighting a phantom war somewhere else with somebody else. Yeah. When you're freed from that, your interest and attention is enriching this Zoom experience. Yeah. It's enriching your day. Whatever that, right now it's a Zoom experience. Before it was playing ball with the dog experience. It's going to be an eating experience after here. Yes? Yeah, you're here. Let's get that clear. Yeah. No matter what you think, you're here. Nothing the head can do or say or imagine can break out of the parameters of here and now. Nothing, ever. I don't care what you think. You're not getting out of here. Yeah, you're here. That's it. I shot up dope. I shot coke for a specific reason, to overdose. So I could have a moment or two when the head would stop and I'd still be there. Guess what? It didn't fucking work. I always woke up in the same fucking circumstances, getting ready to go in an ambulance with the police there. You can't get out of an imaginary place. Yeah. I can't escape from the head that's imaginary. How you escape from it is seeing it's imaginary. If you take it to be real and try to escape, you're never going to succeed. We've all tried it in our own ways, and we've changed ways. We've used spirituality just like drugs and everything else. We've wanted to get out of some feeling or something, and obviously it doesn't work. Well, let's look at it the other way. Are you in it? Because getting out of it hasn't fucking worked. Has it? So there's another possibility. Are you in it? And if you truly see that you're not in it, you're going to lose interest in getting out of it. Yeah. And you'll see the true escape is being here completely, which you always are, no matter what you freaking think. Did you ask your mother to come into your bedroom when you were a kid and judge and, go over how you played with Wayne that day? Oh, I don't think I'm playing to my utmost, but no, you fucking played. There wasn't any, what level of playing, I'm in an extreme level of playing. It was bullshit. You were just playing. I played under a tree for 3 freaking years with a couple of fucking army men. My imagination filled the whole scene, day after day. Very rarely had to go anywhere else. Just played around this crab tree. I could get called in by my mom or my grandma for lunch, go back out, play around. Yeah. Jeez. We have so much potential. It's not in good hands in the head. So give it to the higher power. It'll bring out the best in you. It will. You can't bring out the best in you. You can't. We failed. Let this higher power show aspects of us that we've actually never seen. Yeah. Through service and everything else. Yeah. So, yep. That's the whole point of these talks. I hate when I go places, oh, I've heard everything, all this. No, you haven't heard it then, because we're not talking about changing the steps. We're not talking about doing the steps more. We're not. We're talking about the exact nature of the freaking wrong. Yeah. And we attempt to put it as clearly as possible and check it out. Yeah. And it will definitely be checked out and claimed by self. At the time you're looking at it, it will say it's looking at it. It will. It's good to know, because that's what it does. It claims the life you're living and has it living your life. That's what it does. It claims the life you're living and has it as it's living your life. It tells you about its concerns. You think it's their concerns. It's constantly in fear. And now it tells you about it. I'm afraid. And you go, I'm afraid. No, you're not. It's afraid. Yeah. You're the awareness of it being afraid. You're not, you don't have to mimic its conditions. Its conditions are fucking crazy. They don't need to be yours. Yeah. I tried to change its conditions. I tried it with spirituality. I tried it with drugs. I tried it with fucking spirituality again. I tried it with drugs again. I tried it. Yeah. In this case, this old dog can't learn that many new tricks. Yeah. It can't fulfill the demands you may have of it, of getting better. You might as well see it as something other than you. Yeah. A snake is a snake. If you're nice to it, it'll probably bite you. If you're not nice to it, it'll probably bite you. It's a snake. That's its nature. Yeah. Find the nature of that which we call self and see if you want it to be your nature. I don't think you have to change its nature to be your nature. I think you are that nature. You're not finding out about it. Because we find out about everything through the fucking self nature. Yeah. It's got a very myopic view, don't you think? They even try to warn us of it, which is contempt prior to investigation. Yeah, so I'm happy to be here. Sorry I took up most of the time, but I talk to a lot of people, and a lot of people, when they say what they're hearing that I'm saying is not what I'm saying to be heard. It isn't. I'm not talking about a new way to make self better. I'm just trying to describe something. And if it's part of you, that's great. But that part of you thinks it's all of you. So it needs a fucking review. And the best way to look at it as something foreign to you. Yeah. Get some distance so you can actually learn about what you're not, so you can see it attempting to claim your life. Yeah. Yes. And bring a big enough bouncer to keep it throwing it out of the club, and that's the higher power, really. Yep. So once again, I try to say it as clear as possible. Yeah. See, I don't care what people hear. I care what I say. I try to say it as clear as possible, because it is not another tool in the toolkit. It's not something that self is going to wield and get better. It's not. It's a negation of the idea of self. That's what it is. A negation of the idea of self. Yeah. So, sorry, Ben, anyone else? I hope
Great, thank you, Paul. Yeah, that's been pretty comprehensive. Thank you. Yeah, I've just been seeing, like, recently, what made me ask about the thief and the policeman. It's like a like trauma in the body, and just seeing that, it's taken quite a while to kind of get any distance from that. It's just been there, kind of thing, in
But
certain
you have this,
situations.
so something is
Especially,
progressing. Your recovery is
yeah,
progressing.
yeah. Well, what you
Yeah.
said earlier, it's not. I can't see it as that. So there's more space, maybe, or something. Gradually, it's not felt like that recently, but yeah, yeah,
The space is really seeing what you're not, because when you're trying to find space from what you're not, it's very small. But when you see what you're not, you're seeing it from a very large space. Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
It doesn't have to try to be large. It's large. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I tried to figure shit out. I did. This head, I did not know. And I went through a lot of stuff. I sat in places in Thailand for 3 weeks, meditating 13 hours a day, 7 sitting, what would be, I think 6 walking, living on soup. And I'm thin enough. I lost a pound a day. I was tripping my brains out. And this idea that I wasn't Paul never showed up, to tell you the truth. Yeah. I had to hear about it, because Paul, no matter what was going on, was going to stay around and claim it. And
Yeah.
I realized that all the meditation was like fodder for it to claim and now become a meditator and mimic what it would think a meditator looks like and what a meditator does and what a meditator, and it just was unbelievable. Yeah. And I didn't see after a time how any process in time, which is mostly the shit we do, like practices and shit, is going to get before this process of the mental state claiming everything we're doing and implying it to be self. Yeah, I just didn't see any process that could beat that process. I couldn't. And therefore, the only way to beat that process is to see it from not time. And I believe our spirit is not of time. I do. And I believe you can see the quickest process in time, which is the formulation of the idea of self by the mental apparatus. You can see it from time, from that timeless place. You can see it. Yeah. And after you see it a while, you're going to realize you're that great fucking mystery that's seeing it. You're never going to know you. You're never going to have a clear idea of you, but you're going to have the joy of being you. Yeah. Yes. And maybe the peace of mind of being you. Yes. So how could I share this if I didn't see it? Tell me. No one else was seeing it in the community. I didn't hear it from anyone in AA. I didn't. I went to AA a long time before I heard it. Yeah. Something downloaded and then presented a lot of stuff through reverse engineering, basically. It told me by looking at what I thought I was, that reverse engineering led me to realize I'm not. That's how it worked. Yeah. And had a sufficient amount of downloads that occurred that something got established. Yes. It doesn't have 100 pounds of cement. It doesn't need any fucking base. Its base is itself, but shit was revealed, as it says in our book. We know but a little. Yeah, this power is going to constantly reveal to us stuff, and people who are coming after are going to reveal it. Yeah, well, here you go. Yeah. Could be completely wrong. I don't care. It brought about a relief, and that's if relief is brought about by a magic trick, give me the magic trick. Yes. If me thinking I'm a fucking penguin is going to make me a lot happier, keep me hypnotized. I believe it's true, but it doesn't matter. The relief is the key. Yeah. You're not going to get relief from it as it. They're just not. If you really sense the problem is self, I get relief from it as it. You're not. It's not. You can't. There's the well that gives you water doesn't give you poison. It's another well. Yes, it's just yeah. So how can you lose interest in self as interest in self? How can you? So you lose interest in self. How do you do that? Seeing it as not you. Yeah, okay. There you go. How can I see it as not you? I'm a believer in the big book. All right, read page 64. It says self is called not you. Us is called you. Self, not you, has defeated us, you. Yeah. What would behoove you to realize? It's not you. Would it work if I realize I'm not you as not you? No. Can I see not you from not you? No. Can I see not you? Yes. How do I see not you? Easy. You're seeing everything. Seeing is not the problem. Yeah. It is not the problem. It's what is seen and how it's made up is the problem. Awareness is seeing everything. Yeah. Yeah. What's made out of that seeing is something else. Yeah. So, all right, that's the concept. That's a spiritual awakening, isn't it? What is the spiritual condition? It's the diminishing of a mental condition. That's it. Here's spiritual condition, mental condition. Mental condition goes down, spiritual condition is seen as all there is. Mental division, yeah. So, but you lose interest in self, spiritual awakening. What do you wake up from? Self. What do you wake up as? Spirit. Yeah, there you go. Now you start looking, you start hearing a lot about, you hear a lot of selfing, but it's not you hearing it. Yeah. And that's the good news. There's just hearing of it. And you'll probably learn to love the bird sounds a lot more than it. You will. When you realize it's just hearing and it falls into the category of hearing, there'll be so much more you'd like to hear than it. When it's been listened to as you talking, that sort of blares out all the other hearings. Yes. But when it just becomes something else you're hearing, it's going to fall down the scale of what you want to hear. That's fucking for sure. It's going to be way down. You much rather hear the tightening of a nut on a screw than it. And that's what will be happening. You'll love to work on the car. So yeah. I guess that's it, unless there's a question. I'm sorry I took up.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Great. Kathy's wanted to come in. Have you got time?
Yeah.
Raise hand. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Come in, Kathy.
Hi, everybody. Kathy, a recovered alcoholic. I was going to say what I'm hearing, and then I realized, you don't really hear what I'm hearing, and I get that. So maybe I should say what I've come to understand is that like the relieve me of the bondage of self is more even relieve me of the bondage of the manifestations of self. That it's not, I mean, I get that that self is
that's
not
great. That's a beautiful way to start. Just tell the weight of a resentment and then of my resentment. So yeah, so from dropping off the my, resentment has a lot less weight. Yeah.
And then in the thief and the policeman, I had never heard that in an analogy. And I was thinking about how sometimes when I'm like working my program, I'm doing so as the policeman, like when I'm doing service, and I see that fortunately that's not often, but when it happens, it's a burden, because it's the policeman.
Yes.
Whereas, when I'm just out of self, then, then the service I do is just a pleasure. Does that make sense?
Yes. See, the beautiful thing about that, though, as an experience, it has a lot of determination based on your condition. But as an event to the person who's receiving the service, it's been successful. They got the sandwich. They got the soup. They got the sweater. They got the shoes. They got the place to stay that night. Their experience has nothing to do with your subjective experience doing the service. You've succeeded. The transfer of what was needed for that person has been completed. You're a complete success, no matter what your head is saying.
That's cool.
It's true.
That's cool.
That person is not looking at me and saying, I think you should go over your intentions behind you offering me this thing. They're usually in need and they don't give a shit about that. They need the sandwich. They're hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
That's all. Thank you.
Yeah. The bondage of self. So where you would see the bondage of self, you would see it in the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So how you see that is by the manifestation. So the manifestation is resentment. The manifestation is fear, but mental anxiety. The manifestation is you've done a lot of shit without taking other people into consideration because you wanted that shit. Yeah. So you were very self-centered and self-seeking and frightened. Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. So by those manifestations, you see the my, which is the bondage of self. My resentments, my actions, my fear, Yeah.
Yeah.
So you recognize the self, and that movement is my, by its manifestations, which are the resentments, the fears, and the harms done to others. Those are common manifestations of the my. Yeah. So
Mhm.
there's a my before the thoughts, there's the my before feelings, there's a my before your wishes and desires, there's a my. So the self is there in a lot of things. We're looking at some of the common manifestations because they made bigger splashes, so maybe we can notice them more easy. But there's a my, the idea of my, that feeling of my precedes almost everything that's going on in our lives. Yes,
Mhm.
that's the bondage of self.
Mhm.
How we're defeated is through its manifestations. So we're already set up for the defeat because resentments show up. Yeah. Mental anxieties arise. And then there's things we need and want, and we'll put other people below our drive when we're out of that fear of not getting what we think we need, even though it may just be a want. We're apt to run over people. Yes. Driven by what? This idea of self.
Mhm.
Self. Yeah. So the manifestations, because we can't see the seeming subtlety of the my, it's vague, right? It's just sort of noticed when there's something called a problem, you see it when it's my problem. Yeah. So the my is just vague, but with manifestations, you can catch it. So it's sort of like you can't see the tail until you see the dog. So the dog reveals the tail, which would be the my. That would be the bondage of self. Yes. So we look at its common manifestations to see how self has defeated us. We're not seeing how resentment has defeated us. We're trying to see how self has defeated us through resentment. Yeah. And how it's defeated us is with the mind. We think they're ours when they're not.
Yeah.
So this is the basic, this is like rudimentary 101 recognition of freedom and bondage is this. Just basic. To see resentments as yours is just primal bondage of self. It is. I mean, so we're working on a like stick figure level, just making it very clear the manifestation is of self, not yours. So where is the conundrum? Well, they're still being called my resentments. That's where it is. So the bondage continues. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
So let's say the manifestations of self start dwindling, but the bondage is still there. So now maybe you have 30 resentments. So 30 my's get reinforced. Yeah. So it's still doing it's still providing an adhesive to the bondage of self. It doesn't matter the quantity as much, as long as it has one or two, it'll go to another thing. My thoughts. Oh, I can get every one of those, or my feelings. I've got them. So now
My
I'm losing,
feelings, yeah.
I'm losing some of the adhesion concerning resentments, but I got plenty with thoughts and feelings and actions. And everything that ever happens through me is called mine. I did it. Yeah.
Right.
Even when I've been taken over, I did it. So it's got an incredible insurance that there's no threatening of its defeat. Yeah. By just recognizing some of its manifestations, because it's the bondage is being applied all day. Yeah. Yeah. Just recognize.
Yeah.
That's how. So the bondage of self isn't resentment. It's my resentment.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
mind. Yeah.
It's the mind.
That's the
I get
bondage.
that.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So what does that my mean? What is it? It's a sense of ownership or doership about a lot of shit we don't own and do. I think that would be nice to have that cleared up, wouldn't you? I mean, seriously, if you want to have a super clear life based on an incredibly vague, fucking scrambled basis, it's not going to work. Yeah, That's why we have to get down to the underlying conditions. The underlying conditions have a huge effect on the overlying conditions. Yes. Yeah. Change this and you'll see things differently up here. Yeah. Constantly trying to change things up here doesn't change how you see things. Yeah. I mean, seriously, do you want to operate on the tree at the leaf level or at the root level? The tree has millions of leaves. You'll get lost in trying to take everyone off. Yeah. And it'll just grow new ones in spring. But the root, that has efficacy. That's efficient. Yes. Let's just go to the root of the matter. Yeah. Well, here we are, just sharing away. So anyone have any questions? If not, we can say, oh, Cassandra's on. Yeah, let's ask her.
Hi, thanks, Paul, and thank you, Ben, for hosting the meeting. Just quickly, I had a dream recently that seems like, to me, some of the truth of the message is maybe seeping in. And it was just that I had been called to New Mexico to court for some crime I had committed. And so I showed up and I really didn't have a clue what the crime was. I kept going through my mind to figure out what it was I had done, but I couldn't come up with anything. And so I got to this courthouse and it was pretty much locked up except one door I could go in, but it was all dark, like the offices were dark, the courtrooms were dark. And I found this one office with a light on, and the woman in the office was the judge, but she didn't have her robes on. She was just sitting at her desk doing paperwork. And I told her, I was there for my court case and, here I am. And she basically told me that, well, that was discharged a long time ago. Like that's like totally resolved and, don't worry about it. There's nothing on your record, all of that. And I remember in the dream feeling like when it was over, I kind of almost didn't know what to do anymore. And, I mentioned before the sort of boredom, which I think the boredom is not really there anymore, but space. I'm seeing it as space, that there's not all of this stuff impinging on me, these worries, like, what did I do? So this topic, Ben, that you raised about thief and policeman, it really resonated with me. So that dream was kind of an auspicious sign that the message is seeping in. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you. And also with the police and thief, they're here together also. They're going on in most people's heads right now. We try to make it a dominant so you can see both. Yeah. It's difficult to see both when it seems playing in one stream, but a lot of times how the head is speaking to us as us is through the policeman's voice or the thief's voice. Yes. And that's basically, it seems there's only two channels, but there isn't, there's more. Yeah. This is the place of neutrality. Messages are sent and delivered through the place of neutrality. Yes. Yeah. So then the thief policeman aspect of the radio is like it's a wealth of comedic value, tell you the truth. It's hilarious, really. Something that wants to know so much can't learn. It's incredible. It's just unbelievable. It can't learn the basics of self, can't get out of self. It can't. It cannot get it. So, all right. Well, thank you, Cassandra. Yes, that was very nice. Yeah. I like to call it the court of light, where everything gets annulled and voided. Yes, because obviously the sentences that have been meted out from the mental condition are very, very distorted. And the thing is, in that judicial system, there's no statute of limitations. You are not going to be forgiven, so to speak. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You have to see that you are not the convict. Yes. You are not the thief. That's where the forgiveness comes. You were truly driven to do a lot of shit. Yeah, truly. So, all right, I'm gonna say goodbye. I really appreciate today. I've had a terrible sinus thing and I completely forgot it for this hour. So that's how things work, eh? Yeah. I should continue. I can't wait till 4:30. We have another talk. I'll get some relief. Better than what is it? Allegra or something. Yeah. I hate taking shit that just masks the symptoms. I don't, that's not into that too much. Yeah. You know what I mean? They have their own effects. And what they do is they mask they know, oh, you're not going to get real relief. We're just going to mask the symptoms. And, you know, chronically, it seems valuable. But I don't like the whole principle of that. Yeah. All right, let's give up. There's no possibility of relief. Let's just mask the symptoms. That's what most of the shit happening is here in this world. It's just masking symptoms. There is a solution, man. And if you've met the solution of AA, you've been introduced to what a real solution is. It can lead to the point the problem does not exist for you. That's a solution. This shit of masking symptoms to me isn't a solution. Yeah. Right on the box. I was reading it. Oh, yes. These are great. They can mask the symptoms. Oh, wait. I'd rather go to satsang. It just masks the symptoms. Yeah. I don't feel drowsy and fucking burnt out either. Yeah, that's good. All right. Thank you. I'm going to say goodbye. Cassandra. Very nice. Al in Vegas, as always, pleasure. Dana, traveling well. Yes. Mike T. Chris T. Wheelchair thing. What is this? I can't see it. Ben, nice to see you, Ben. Thank you for the service. Christy Silver. That's a nice name. David S. Nice to see you, David. Kathleen, there you are. Thanks for taking a look at the website every once in a while, honey. You're the policeman in this. You're the policewoman. Joseph C., my friend from France. Nice to see you. Lebowski, as always. Yeah. Yeah. Mia, she's somewhere down. Hey, Mia, I think I found your black hat. It was squished under one of my seats in the Fiat, so I have reclaimed it. So it's
Thank you.
what was previously thought as lost has been found.
Oh, thank you. I
Yeah.
feel better. And I wanted to say hi from this beautiful place you introduced me to.
Oh, you're down in
It's,
Imperial
it's quite
Beach,
lovely.
right? Yeah.
Not that beach. I think it's called Swami's. Some garden you had.
Oh, and Encinitas.
This-
Encinitas.
That's right. Yeah. So it was
Oh,
just
yeah,
nice
yeah,
to
that's
share
nice.
this location with you today. Thank you. That was
Yeah,
beautiful.
Encinitas is nice. Yes.
Mm.
Thanks, Sally. As always, fully participating. Kerry, Mickey, Mark R. Mark R. was frolicking around in the message. Yes. Jeffrey in Seattle. He's delivering eyes for those who can see. Pretty good. John K. There he is. Tom M. Grateful Dave. Beautiful stupa. Little rock stupa. Dennis. John S. in Florida. Oliver Berlin. Let me see if there's anyone else here. I think that's it. Everyone else ran away. Kimya. Christine from Kahlua. Hey, thank you, everyone. Thanks for the support. We'll be at another meeting 4:30 Pacific time on the same Zoom. I think you can enter it in on the event page. Thanks for putting up with me today. I had to get it off my chest. Yeah.
Thank you, Paul.
Yes.
Thanks, Paul.